A long time ago, I saved up money for a whole year to build a gaming PC with my cousin. I had one and only one request. It had to be able to run Subnautica. I had seen the game online and been spellbound. As you might guess, based on my videos at the time, it was my first long play game. Everything about Subnautica blew me away. Resource gathering, the meter management, the spellbinding locales, the scannable flora and fauna. Wherever I went, it felt like I was progressing. Whatever I did seemed to teach me more about the world I was playing in. There was always something to discover, some new piece of a puzzle to put together. But there was also something else. Something I didn't expect. Fear. Maybe I'm not being specific enough. Fear I expected. I expected my spine to chill as the Reapers shrieked amongst the shaking earth. I expected to panic as I'm warped from my prawn suit and it sinks into the silence of the blood kelp. I expected that quiet dread as you stare into the invisible depths. I expected to be afraid. What I did not expect was to be anxious. To have an unassailable, looming sense of doom accompany me every meter I went down and grab at my ankles if I came back up. In a way, it made the game even better. In another, it still makes me fearful to launch it. And it all starts right here. The Aurora is quite possibly one of the most brilliant and decisive set placements I have seen in a video game. Within the entire navigable zone of the game, it is always visible, a massive and unwavering landmark that makes for incredible scenery and a constant judge of where you are. A full view of the left means you're home. The floating island grants you full view of its rear, and the mountain island shows you the caved-in front. And if you make it to the right side, you won't make it back. It's extremely radioactive, and it's generally unwise to get too close, but the Aurora provides a familiar and unmoving sight in the face of endless, identical ocean. And perhaps it provides more. The crash doesn't seem to have affected it too badly. Perhaps there's some part of it left spaceworthy. It sounds crazy, but maybe if you can fix the ship, you have some hope of getting off the planet alive. This is the first of many hope crushings in Subnautica. Your one desperate bid, the one even remotely feasible saving grace of your hopeless circumstance, and it has blown up in your face before you even committed to the idea of it. For the rest of the game, you are reminded of that small hope extinguished every single time you surface. The Aurora is a triumph of visual storytelling. Everywhere you can reasonably go on the surface, it is there, serving as this horrendous juxtaposition of the one thing you need to get off the planet, sitting in this state of complete ruination. Your greatest chance of escape turned into this unignorable mountain of complete desolation. Subnautica emphatically employs thalassophobia, the fear of open water. It practically redefined the word, if I'm being honest. It uses thalassophobia to instill megalophobia, the fear of large objects, and it uses that to instill submechanophobia, the fear of submerged infrastructure. Greatest of all, it instills this awful, prodigious sense of being alone by employing all these phobias together. The Aurora reminds you at all times that there is truly no escape. And it also serves to remind you of something else.
This is LifePod 3, uploading our coordinates.
This is Ozzy from the cafeteria. What the hell, guys? This is Officer Keenan, LifePod 19. The captain is gone. I have assumed command.
A seldom discussed piece of world building in Subnautica is that every human voice you hear for its entire runtime is a recording. No matter how quickly you arrive to any life pod's distress call, the pod is ruptured, sunk, and empty. Whether it be their own incompetence or truly horrifying encounters with the wildlife, the only survivor of the crash after 8 hours is you. This is a stark, sobering thing to consider. All these competent, level-headed people on this ship. Only a handful made it off in one piece, and the only one alive after less than a day is you. This not only enforces a thick and bitter sense of isolation, but also very realistically creates survivor's guilt. On a planet so hostile, where people more qualified than you, more important than you, better than you, have perished, what gives you the right to survive? And that's just it. Nothing. Nothing except your blind luck. The Shallows contain plentiful resources, abundant fragments, and no hostile creatures. But you didn't know that. You didn't steer yourself here. You got lucky. Everyone else didn't. Adding to this sense of guilt, your character is canonically the non-essential systems maintenance chief. What a delightfully superfluous position. The Aurora was on a bold new frontier, tying the furthest reaches of the galaxy together, and your job was to fix the air conditioners and vending machines. And now here you stand, alone. No one else. Completely and utterly.
This is Avery Quinn of Trading Ship Sunbeam. Aurora, do you read? Over?
The Sunbeam arc is a midpoint high for Subnautica, right as you're really thoroughly realizing that there is no hope of finding anyone left alive planetside. There's one spark from the far side of the galaxy. The Sunbeam assures you that they can and will help once they realize the dire circumstances. Though the survivor's guilt remains, for a while that sense of loneliness is lifted. Someone knows you are there, and they are coming to help you. With just that little bit of assurance, the tone of the game becomes entirely different. When the timer goes up and the landing site is marked, anyone would believe that this is a countdown to the game's happy ending. Then you arrive. The first sight that befalls you is a massive facility, too stark to be natural and too unorthodox for a human construct. Despite the building, its questionable function as imposing as its form, your deliverance is upon you. As the timer reaches its final seconds, you can hear the Sunbeam patch in communications. Salvation is finally within your reach. But you can hear something else as well. Metallic shifting, mechanical strain. A haunting alien horn blasts a single droning tone, an omen of doom that you could not see. The winds seem to pick up as you make the horrifying realization that the building is moving. As the previously unrecognizable tower shifts, you realize your eyes have betrayed you. You can now see, all too late, that the entire building is a weapon, aiming itself at the Sunbeam. It's like watching a train crash as the crew realizes their impending doom. They barely have time to reverse thrust before...
It's coming from the building? Change course. Set thrusters to full.
Before it's too late. The laser is so loud, so striking and piercing to the senses that you barely hear the detonation. The vessel has been completely scattered to the wind, practically vaporized. Smoke drifts in plumes to the surface of the water as a solemn silence settles over the land. The building, seeing its purpose complete, begins to shift back into its deceptive idylity. The horn blasts once more, distinctly inhuman and impossibly cruel, a herald of your cemented damnation. All you can do is stare. It is insanity to say that a building has taunted you, but it has. For a few fleeting seconds, you were not alone. Unlike your impossible hope to fix the ship, this was a realistic goal. This was a realized goal, and it has been stolen from you. Slowly. Painfully. The building's monstrous horn and shifting perceptives akin to twisting a knife in your chest. Revenge must be taken. The secrets of this facility must be plundered. But the search only taunts you further. Getting to the heart of the facility teaches you two things. The first is that you are infected with an alien disease, and the second is that as long as your blood runs foul, the laser stays on. No one can come and get you, and you can't leave. Before, you were isolated. Now, you are quarantined, locked on a remote planet with no hope, scratch that, no possibility of rescue. And that's assuming anyone even knows that you're still alive. The severity of this quarantine cannot be for a mild ailment. This disease will kill you, and there is nothing you can do. The sense of isolation graduates into full-on monophobia, the fear of being alone. 4 fears combine into one package of entrapping misery. If the lurking forces in the water don't get you, your illness will, and either way, nobody will be there to witness it. Everything you've done will be for nothing. Nobody will remember you because nobody will even know what happened. And monatophobia, the fear of dying alone and being forgotten, is your new mantra. After this, many days pass in which your only real objective is to live what time you have left as comfortably as you can. Every time you have dared to hope, to pull yourself out of the mud, circumstance has sunk you deeper. And now all that remains is the certainty that you are alone and the certainty that you will die.
This is Altera HQ.
Naivete be damned. Let's do this one last time. Against all odds, Altera, the company that sent you on this doomed venture, has reached you. They don't know about the laser, but there's a schematic on the Aurora itself that can at least get you off the planet. If you can figure out how to build it and cure yourself of the incurable disease, you're home free. As far as hope goes, it's not much, but don't worry, it gets much worse. To get the schematic, you actually have to get inside the ship, which I can only describe as the most stressful gaming experience I have ever lived through. The ship is humongous, even from just a glance, but the closer you get to it, the bigger it seems. I don't have megalophobia or submechanophobia, but actually I do, and this is how I figured it out. The water around it is a ghastly orange. Every couple seconds, the entire world around it shakes, and the worst of all, the Reapers. They are all around the ship, and I do not like them. I don't know what it is about them, whether it be their unique method of attack or their uncomfortably human faces or the roars, but I am prodigiously afraid of them. Such to the point that I have gone to extreme lengths to avoid even the most remote possibility of an encounter whenever I can, sometimes including not swimming in real life. Any individual sand dune I encounter is met with 200 meters of backpedaling just to make sure I'm not in the dunes, to which I have and will never travel, and I'm pretty sure my heart rate doubles whenever I have to go to or from the Aurora. All this ambiance and gravity around the crash site makes it feel like entering hell, especially the orange lighting throughout, and I don't think I have ever empathized with a character as much as I do in this part of the game. But it doesn't end when you're on the ship. The first thing your wonderful, delightful PDA says to you is that the radiation will essentially irreversibly destroy the entire ecosystem if you don't fix it now. Awesome! The second thing it says is that the funky, wonky little buggy wuggies all over the ship have eaten all of the people who died in the crash. Awesome! You might expect the ship as a catalyst to make you more afraid, to really drive home the isolation and the monatophobia, to see this place you and so many others worked and lived destroyed, half drowned and left to rot. And it does, especially since you can hear the Reapers outside when you're underwater in the ship. But somehow it isn't just that. It made me sad. The entire area is littered with PDAs, posters, misplaced objects, lockers with photos. The prawn bay has several units in storage, but also one suspended for repair. The captain's quarters has a little miniature of the ship he pilots in it. The isolation caused by their extinguished lives comes second to the depth of life you get to see. These people were just trying to get through the day and do their jobs, but they're all given a layer of depth that is undeniable and indescribably human. People had relationships, ones that blossomed and ones that failed. People were excited, people were bored, people were eating tardigrades. It is a canon piece of information that all the desserts on board were accidentally ejected into the vacuum of space. The voices you've heard in their last moments are now rounded out. The devs take the environmental storytelling of the Aurora's exterior and apply the concept fully to the interior. Even in its ruined state, you can tell that people lived here, that they weren't ready for the crash, and that they weren't ready to die. And that is when you know that you need to launch the rocket, not just for yourself, not just for your survival, but for theirs, for the Sunbeams, and for anyone who might happen across the planet in the future. Monatophobia, the fear of dying alone and not being remembered, is somehow lifted off your shoulders, and in its place come all these other lives. If you die now, not only will you not be remembered, but neither will they. It's as if knowing that they, if they were still alive, would have the same fear you do, makes the fear go away. Survivor's guilt is amped up to such an extent that it turns into Survivor's purpose. In a morbid sort of way, through their deaths, you are no longer alone. Their lives are over, and yours is in danger, but it all ties back to one thing. The disease. It's the reason you were shot down and the reason they're all gone. You don't know where you have to go or how you have to do it, but you will cure this disease, disable the platform, and survive. Not just for your sake, but for theirs. In terms of other facilities, you have only vague depth indications from the quarantine enforcement platform, but your purpose is clear, and a thorough explanation of the Aurora provides you a prawn suit. Wherever you must go, it will be found, and it will be done, or you have let them all down. I was not lying when I said that the Aurora was a brilliant set piece. You enter the ship feeling the lowest and most afraid since you've arrived, spend your entire time there sad, and you leave it feeling like you finally got a real goal. In one segment, your role within the game has been recontextualized from solitary survivor to sole savior, and the medium for that change is the same set piece that enforced the previous role in the first place. Only a great game can do that. This alighted inspiration, glorious purpose bullshit fades fast as you settle back into the heavy blanket of bona fide, fully assured loneliness, but it never feels as lonely after this. And once you finally make it all the way down to the deepest pits of the planet, a final cavern, a trial by fire, an all-or-nothing gambit for your escape, all your hard work, all your struggle, isolation, and fear are rewarded with the realization that finally takes monophobia out of the picture and fully relieves the brilliant and oppressive theming of the entire game.
I am what you seek. Want to help you.
You are not alone. Following Subnautica's story is like eating a fancy meal at Ratatouille's house. You are given these incredible moments of storytelling in small, sporadic moments, and then left to savor them until the next course. There's a lot of space in between story beats, and there's not much to push you towards the later parts, comparable to waiting a long time at Ratatouille's house because his little rat hands take a long time to make the food. But once that story beat comes, it's always something that blows you away. This massively tangential opening is to make you understand that this moment right here is the proverbial main course of the entire game. The part where you go like... okay. I gotta get some water. The final hours of Subnautica are pure cinema. All the artistry and sophisticated world building of the surface is reflected in the deepest location you can go, where a grimly familiar stronghold lies amidst fields of magma. The same architecture that keeps you tethered to the planet is your last hope to get off of it. The setting is appropriate to the situation, 2,000 meters under the sea, and yet you are surrounded by fire. If the crash site is metaphorically hell, the active lava zone is visually hell, the picturesque planet finally looking to the eyes how it is felt to your soul. But inside the facility is your salvation, and this time it cannot be taken away. Inside the facility lies another pool of water. It's almost funny to see all this pomp and majesty about the building, only to be the membrane to another ocean separate from the rest. But inside lies the planet's greatest secret.
Are you here to play? Others came.
The Sea Empress. The last of her kind. She is your deliverance from monotophobia. From the moment you touch down in her chamber, it is clear that you are no longer alone. Her mannerisms are far from animalistic despite her form, subtly implied through animation. There's expression in the eyes, a purpose in the movements, and a thought behind its composure. Intellect and humanity delivered subtly and creatively. And also, she talks to you telepathically, because subtlety is for dumb nerds, and losers, and poopheads! You are speaking to something of great mindfulness, something greater than yourself, a sort of elevated presence, all the more refreshing after so long spent alone. Her words are channeled directly into your mind with simple grace, telling you that she is the oldest living thing on this planet, and the only thing that can cure your disease. The aliens who trapped her in this box thought themselves above her in such a way they could not hear her. As the disease wiped them all out, they remained deaf to her cries. Even with company, she has long been alone. Some way, somehow, this 1,000-year telepathic turtle squid is relatable. The architects and her akin to you and your PDA. Something that talks but doesn't listen. An illusion of another mind. Its presence does not make you less alone. Only remind you how alone you are. Your purpose can wait. Before even asking, she has convinced you to help her. Imprisoned with her is the next generation of Sea Emperors, the last chance for the survival of her species. She has waited centuries longer than normal to complete the last step of the life cycle. Once they are hatched, it is revealed that the enzyme produced abundantly by the young is an impossibly potent natural cure. In their attempts to extract that cure, the architects unwittingly stalled the process that would have given it to them. In their need to master the natural order, they ignored their place in it. It seems like destiny that you, who is lowly to even the bones of this civilization, are the one to remember. You have cured the Kara, not by overcoming nature, but by accepting it. Not by shifting the tides in your favor, but by following where they lead. Somehow, everything feels worth it now. All the loneliness, all the struggle, the defeat, the fear, the hopelessness, you have overcome it all to get here. The planet as a whole seems so much more beautiful than it was before. In a way, you've become a part of it. The Sea Empress has given you the chance to save yourself, but what you have done is so clearly, so much bigger than just yourself. She has fulfilled you in a purpose you were not even looking for, and in the cruelest twist of fate, you have one last thing stolen from you. With her final wish carried out, the Sea Empress succumbs to age. Despite her majesty, despite how she has saved you in a way nothing and no one else ever could, she dies humbly, simply, without struggle. Knowing how long she has endured, of course she deserves it, but you don't deserve to be alone again. The moments of bliss you spend in a presence outside your own sour the familiarity of monotophobia. Change it. You are no longer afraid of dying alone. Now you're sad. Sad that you have to live. Because despite freedom now being in reach, you know that you are now lonely in a way you will never be able to assuage. You have lived among the closest thing to a god that this world or any other has ever seen. You have fulfilled a purpose so grand that you can never hope to achieve anything more. You have witnessed a majesty that you will chase for the rest of your life and never find. Through her, you have been prematurely fulfilled. It almost sounds pleasant at first, but really think about it for a second. Your whole life from this point will be filler, the indescribable force that pushes us onward, the will to live itself, gone. Of course, that's not to say the second she dies, you just want to kill yourself. I mean, come on, this is a video game. But having been completed, your life filled out in such an unforgivable way, and having the only other that can understand perish as the finale, you are now somehow empty. And that is a pain without end. The rocket is the last step of the journey, a final catalyst to process everything you've gone through. You are truly untethered for the first time in the game. There's nothing left to keep you. No disease means no enforcement laser. No survivors means no reason to stay. No Sea Empress means no reason to come back. This planet has put you through the ringer. You have suffered prodigiously for even a possibility of leaving. And yet, now you hesitate. You cannot help but appreciate its beauty. You have found purpose here, despite it all. Leaving, the goal that encompassed every other, now seems like a courtesy, a want rather than a need. After all, in your search for the cure, you've amassed quite the store of equipment. Though you are of course surviving, calling what you've done survival is quite the understatement. You've carved out a life here. Despite your best efforts, you're now attached. And as the rocket launches, carrying you back to your people, where you are certain to finally be accompanied, you can't help feeling alone again. In going back to what you had, you're leaving something else to long for. No matter what you do, you have to lose something. Complex emotions permeate every milestone on your journey. Truly, there is no moment in Subnautica where you're just meant to feel happy. Except for one! As you race across the stars at light speed, in a state somewhere between conscious and entranced, you hear her voice one last time. The Sea Empress. Despite the fate you know has befallen her, she is just as calm as she ever was.
What is a wave without the ocean? A beginning without an end. They are different, but they go together. Now you go among the stars, and I fall among the sand. We are different, but we go together.
Are these her final words in life, or does she call from beyond the grave? It is left unclear, and yet she leaves you feeling like all of your questions have been answered. Final words that finally close the book on the story of Riley Robinson, the non-essential systems maintenance chief who, in the face of dire straits, did so much more than just survive. Closure. Loneliness is nothing in the face of what you've done. You never tamed the wilds, but you learned to live among them. You couldn't save your crewmates' lives, but you saved their legacies. You couldn't learn the inhuman complexities of the architects, but your human simplicity fixed their greatest mistake. You and the Empress, you and the ocean, you and the planet were different, but you went together. For the first time in the game, with nothing left to do and no strings to the feeling, you are left to be happy. Subnautica is a game that preys on and exposes your fears in a way that I've never quite found in another game. You are relentlessly battered with your own loneliness in a way that only gets worse the further you go. But Subnautica also encourages you to overcome those fears, not simply by exposure therapy, but by giving you a reason to be brave. You may never be able to tackle a Reaper head-on, or fearlessly venture into the depths, but that doesn't matter, because bravery is not the absence of fear, but the strength to act despite it. Despite being alone, despite being outmatched, despite being afraid, you are never without a reason to be brave. The destroyed life pods, the wreck of the Aurora, the Sunbeam's destruction, these are the things that scare you, but they are also the things that give you bravery. It is easy to be hopeless in the face of all this destruction, but you are given a chance to show strength in persevering not just through these events, but for these events. A catalyst for both your fear and your fight. All the more rewarding, thusly, is the ending. Bravery, purpose, perseverance, the audacity to survive, the sheer will of a human being, it has brought you deliverance. From fear, bravery has progenited, and it has brought you freedom. It has brought you fulfillment, and it has brought completion to an irreplaceable game that I can never hope to forget. Which really makes you wonder, why Subnautica Below Zero fucking sucks so bad, huh? It truly makes me sad to even say it, but it's true. In the face of what the first game does right, Below Zero is a fucking embarrassment to both the franchise and the truly talented people at Unknown Worlds. Look, I'm not stupid. The game looks incredible. The creativity that went into the level design and fauna is just as impressive as the first game, but that environment isn't put to good use at all. Most of the impressive set pieces are relegated to the side story of Robin finding Sam, which, being the main reason she came to the planet, is body-checked into wheelchair-bound paralysis by Alan, who I will not discuss at this time. I had to look up the location of almost every Sam-focused location, because the game gives you almost no information and doesn't push you towards discovering more. Finding the Degassi in Subnautica rewarded you with a lot of information and a lot of gameplay items, like the multi-purpose room and the cuttlefish. There are a lot more locations in Sam's subplot, and a lot less reward, both informationally and materially. This is a recipe for disaster. If neither gameplay or narrative are enhanced by the set pieces, people will stop caring about them. If the set pieces are hard to find and people don't care about them, people will not find them. If people don't find the set pieces, the story is not told, and you have failed! This wouldn't be as glaring an issue if it wasn't for fucking Alan, an uncreatively named, boringly voiced game ruiner of a character. The architects were the biggest mystery of Subnautica. Discovery of their advancements was game-changing, and their failure to contain or manage the Kara made it all the scarier as the microscopic antagonist it was. A large portion of the world-building success that the architects brought stems from how many questions were left unanswered. Of course you can't figure them all out. This is an entire civilization of incredibly advanced beings, not to be unraveled by a single mind. That would seem logical to anyone. And what did they do but make unraveling the entire civilization a job for a single mind?
With this, I believe you have uncovered all the artifacts of note.
Alan, a character born through a stupid idea that proves to be even stupider in execution. Little bit of writing advice. Don't write characters like they wrote Alan. The only redeemable part of his existence is that he is a masterclass of saying absolutely nothing with as many words as possible. Kinda like this video. Alan is the dumbest, most piece of shit idiot in the entire biosphere. He is constantly talking down to you, flip-flops between understanding everything and understanding nothing, and provides maybe, at best, if you are lucky, one meaningful scrap of lore per conversation. Wow, the architects are coterminous. Let's listen to him reiterate that 4 times before the conversation is over. Wow, Alan doesn't understand dreams. 2 minutes later, now he does. Remember in Guardians of the Galaxy how Drax doesn't understand metaphors?
That's when you...
Why would I put my finger on his throat?
That's funny, because it's used as an engine for jokes, and the examples they use are inherently whimsy.
Do not ever call me at the source.
Alan doesn't understand metaphors either, except that is the joke, and it is never funny!
Hope is the thing with feathers.
This does not match any fauna designation I can find in your PDA.
It's...
Alan is written like a C-3PO, which isn't necessarily bad, but think about it like this. C-3PO's thing is that he's always hyper-literal and can't think paralogically.
Possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
He sees things in statistics and facts. That has the potential to be very, very annoying, and it is. But it's still funny. It's funny not because of what he says, but because he has so many other characters to bounce off of who can and do think in metaphor and paralogic. And because he gets mutilated so often. Now, imagine Star Wars, except C-3PO is the only character. That would not be funny. In fact, that would be fucking stupid as hell. So tell me why they trapped C-3PO inside of your head, took away his funny voice, and made the main mission to build him a body so he will stop fucking talking to you, instead of finding your sister who mysteriously disappeared because Altera is evil now for some reason. The Sea Empress has 30 sentences of dialogue in the entire video game of Subnautica, and yet she is the most impactful and irreplaceable part of it. Why, after so effectively detailing less is more, show don't tell, and the value of timing reveals, does Below Zero have their biggest reveal at the beginning of the story and only have him give you super dense chunks of descriptive and vague dialogue? The premature reveal uses more to tell and not show. I am not playing this video game to fucking listen to Alan talk, and yet any time I almost found myself enjoying the experience, he started doing it again. And it doesn't help that Robin, your darling protagonist, is just as versed in the language of Japanese as Alan is. I don't want to beat a dead horse and repeat everything I just said with Robin examples, so instead imagine this. You make the journey to the Aurora. The atmosphere is intense and brilliant. Your mind races with possibilities, and your heart races with adrenaline. Then Riley says, "Looks like this place got messed up. I hope they're still serving lunch." I don't know about you, but I think that would be fucking terrible. Every time Robin talks, it's like that. I believe I've said enough. Unfortunately, Below Zero is the worst kind of bad game. It's not a gameplay issue or a graphical bug, it's not bad coding or glitchy AI, it's not anything you can fix. The entire story of the game, from the writing to the acting to the execution, is just not good. And this is a story in which we discover Marguerite Maida from the first game's Degassi crew is not only alive, but killed a Reaper Leviathan at 500 meters down, swam up to the surface, rode its corpse through the ghost-infested dead zone for weeks, and now has its skull hanging on the wall. That is fucking awesome, but you probably didn't know that, because the game does not care about it! Robin is annoying, Sam is neglected, Marguerite might as well not be in the game, Riley is not even mentioned, and Alan dominates a story that centers around a goal that is left hanging off Platitude Cliff.
I am ready to face whatever awaits.
Shallow completion to a completely expendable game that I would be fine forgetting. Fuck Alan. Anyway, guys, make sure to subscribe and like and comment. I wore my shark shirt for this video, so make sure you comment in the comment section. #Shart, my favorite animal. Okay, goodbye.